Hey everyone! So after you've got your pilot sorted in Mecharashi, the next big step is definitely investing in STs. But let's be real, with so many STs out there and quite a few that are just meh, it's tough to know which ones actually deserve your time and resources. That's exactly why we're here today, to break it all down and help you figure out which STs are truly worth chasing as you climb the ranks. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the ultimate Mecharashi ST tier list. The good, the great, and the absolutely game-changing. Whether you're a newbie trying to build a solid team or a veteran looking to optimize your lineup, we've got you covered. So, buckle up and let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking STs in Mecharashi. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The STs in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Krieger, Swamp Walker, Gamesaws, Charon, Diana, and Radiance. Alright, buckle up because we're diving straight into the deep end with the D tier support troopers in Mecharashi. Now, these guys might not be the shining stars of your squad, but hey, every team needs that quirky uncle who's a bit rough around the edges, right? Let's start with Krieger and Swamp Walker. These two are like the twins of poor action point regeneration. Sure, they both have a chance to restore action points after using a skill that costs 2 or more action points, which sounds neat, but in reality, their total action point regeneration is so low, it's almost tragic. Honestly, Krieger is widely considered one of the worst support troopers in the entire game. Pilots like Naomi and Lucia might make the best out of this duo, but don't expect miracles. Then there's Gamesaws, who tries to spice things up by reducing the enemy's dodge rate. Now, that sounds useful on paper, but compared to the other A-grade support troopers who bring some serious buffs to the table, Gamesaws is kind of like that friend who tries to help but just doesn't quite have the skills yet. If you're flying with Anna or Emily as pilots, Gamesaws might not be the worst choice, but let's just say your enemies won't be trembling in their boots anytime soon. Next up, we have Charon, the Guardian's so-called best friend. This support trooper provides massive armor buffs, which should sound like a dream for any Guardian pilot. The problem? Guardians themselves are not exactly the hottest pick outside of the arena, so even though Yevgeny and Daraka can make good use of Charon, outside those arena battles, Charon's armor buffs often feel like showing up to a water fight with a fire extinguisher. Great idea, but maybe a bit overkill in the wrong setting. Diana is another curious case. She buffs dodge rate significantly, which is fantastic, especially for early game pilots like Hong and Kaidan, but here's the catch, she doesn't offer any damage buffs. That's like giving someone a shiny shield but no sword. Sure, dodging is cool, but if you're not hitting back harder, it's a little underwhelming, don't you think? Last but not least, meet Radiance. This support trooper is supposed to reduce damage taken and buff critical resistance. Sounds solid, right? Except Radiance is one of the worst light support troopers in the game, and no pilot, not even Catherine or Kaidan, really feels the need to bring her along. She's kind of like that extra umbrella you bring for backup, but when the storm hits, you realize it's more hold than help. So yeah, the D tier STs in Mecharashi might not win you any MVP awards, but they do add a little flavor to the roster, kind of like the quirky characters you root for even when they're not carrying the team. Next up, we'll look at who really deserves your investment, so stay tuned. The STs in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Cowlin, Arash Ambusher, Hermes, Metal Mare, Boyer, Flintstone, Mandrill, and Ironclad. Alright, now that we survived the D tier roller coaster, let's cruise into the more respectable C tier support troopers of Mecharashi. These guys bring a little more to the table, like your reliable friend who's not flashy but always shows up when you need them. First up, Cowlin. This trooper is a solid A-grade choice if you're rocking heavy machine guns with a sweet chance to ignore 45% of enemy armor. Pretty clutch, right? Just don't expect too much when facing enemies with low armor. It's like bringing a tank buster to a pillow fight. Pilots like Mary and Grant really get the most out of Cowlin's perks. Then there's Arash, the sniper's secret weapon in the medium tier. He buffs critical rate and ranged weapon damage, which is basically sniper gold. The catch? Not many pilots can fully unlock his potential, but if Natalia or Dana are your sharpshooters, Arash is a fantastic buddy to have locked and loaded. On the lighter side, we have Ambusher, probably the best light A-grade support trooper for snipers. Ambusher shines especially with Sylvie until you manage to snag a higher tier ST. Bella also pilots her with great effect, so if you've got them, Ambusher's crit buffs won't disappoint. Next, Hermes strolls in with an increase to tactical weapon damage. It's a neat little buff, but honestly, other stats might be more pressing in your build. Shawnee and Naomi are the pilots who can squeeze some value out of Hermes, but if you're aiming for big plays, you might want to look elsewhere. Moving on, Metal Mare buffs assault weapon damage and hit rate, which is pretty solid for Guardians early on. The downside, survivability buffs could be more useful here since Guardians tend to be tanks, but William and Anna definitely make good use of Metal Mare's offensive boost. Boya tags along with a similar playstyle, boosting assault weapon damage and hit rate. It's a solid pick for Marcus and Frida, especially when you're still building up your squad. You won't be dazzled, but you'll get steady results. Flintstone is the melee maestro here, offering buffs to melee weapon damage and dodge rate. For early game pilots like Hong and Kaiden, Flintstone is hands down the best support trooper you can get. If you like your frontline feisty and slippery, Flintstone's your guy. Mandrill throws in a massive armor buff plus a solid melee damage increase. This makes him the top early game ST for Gumusier, which is no small feat. However, he's a bit of a specialist since not many other pilots make great use of him. Gumusiai and Anna are the perfect pilots to benefit from Mandrill's strengths. Lastly, Ironclad boosts assault weapon damage and hit rate, much like Boya and Metal Mare, but shines best early game with Rosa and Mary. If you're looking for consistent, reliable buffs without any fancy bells and whistles, Ironclad fits the bill nicely. So yeah, the C-tier support troopers might not grab the spotlight or have flashy ultimates, but they're the steady backbone for a lot of solid pilot builds. They'll help you punch above your weight class while you wait for those epic A or S tier legends to come knocking. Ready to move up the ladder? Because the next tier is where the real fun begins. The STs in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Wolverine, Cephas, Hela, Heracles, Cleese, and Roadrunner. Alright, now we're getting into the B tier support troopers in Mecharashi, the almost there crew. These guys are like the friends who always bring good snacks to the party, but maybe not the main course. First on the list is Wolverine. This one's a real troublemaker for enemies who can't hit you back, stacking extra damage against those poor defenseless targets. On top of that, Wolverine can strip buffs from enemies under the same condition and even boost your area of effect attacks if you're only hitting 2 or fewer enemies. Sounds spicy, right? The catch is that there just aren't that many pilots who can fully take advantage of this kit, but Shawnee and Naomi can make Wolverine look better than most. Next up is Cephas, which sounds like the name of a heavy metal band, but instead is a melee pilot's dream. You get solid hit rate and crit rate buffs, plus a nifty body protection effect on a 5-turn cooldown. Oh, and if your health drops below 60%, you get a juicy damage boost. The problem? Not many pilots can use all of these perks effectively. Catherine and Kaiden, however, are two who can make Cephas shine, especially in brawly, up-close fights. Then we have Hela, and no, not the Marvel one. Though this Hela is just as terrifying in the right hands. She offers a massive damage buff during enemy turns, an absolutely bonkers dodge rate increase if you can't retaliate, and even throws in a 10% crit rate boost for good measure. The only downside, she's really only good for Catherine. If Catherine's in your roster, Healer is basically her ride or die. Heracles steps into the ring next, bringing a more tactical flavor. This support trooper increases the duration of any debuffs you've applied, lowers enemy dodge rate if they're too close, and gives you more damage against debuffed enemies. It's a great toolkit, but again, not many pilots can use it to its full potential. Gumusier and Raven are the best choices here, and in the right situations, Heracles can be a real headache for your opponents. Finally, we've got Roadrunner, which might sound like it belongs in a cartoon chase scene, but in Mecharashi, it's a top pick for machinists in the early game. Roadrunner buffs healing and max HP, making your machines harder to take down. It's a fantastic starter, especially for Melissa and Seven, but once you start collecting those S-grade STs, you'll probably bench Roadrunner for something flashier. The STs in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Doppelsoldner, Dread Talon, Gillisrace, Diaz, and Arcus. Alright, now we're stepping into the A tier support troopers, the real backbone of many strong Mecharashi squads. These troopers are the reliable friends who will always have your back and occasionally steal the spotlight. First up is XR, a beast if your pilot likes to double down on assault weapons. XR not only buffs damage when you use 2 of the same weapon type, but also slaps on extra damage percent, reduces damage taken, and even throws in some automatic healing. The catch? Not many pilots run 2 assault weapons, so XR shines brightest with pilots like Rosa and Mary, who fit that playstyle perfectly. Then there's Doppelsoldner, who is basically the sprinter of the squad. This support trooper buffs both movement and damage based on how many tiles you move each turn, plus gives raiders an extra flurry strike proc. So, if your pilot loves to dash across the battlefield like a maniac, Doppelsoldner is your go-to. Marcus and Frieda make great use of these buffs, but keep in mind that Doppelsoldner's power depends heavily on how much you move. Less sprinting, less damage. Dread Talon is a sniper's dream. This support trooper is hands down the best for Sylvie and Rebecca, pumping up damage if you have a very high hit rate and dealing extra damage against low health parts. It's basically overpowered for Sylvie, but you do need to keep that hit rate sky high to get the full damage benefits. So, if you're all about precision shooting, Dread Talon is your best friend. Gillis Race is the tank whisperer, offering buffs to repair amount, damage, and damage taken, plus restoring HP when below 50%. This makes Gillis Reyes excellent for almost any Guardian pilot. The only catch is Kong, another support trooper, edges Gillis Reyes out with even more value, but Duraka and Anna still benefit big time from Gillis Reyes' toolkit. Diaz is the Punisher's pal, buffing retaliation and quick draw proc counts and increasing damage every time the support trooper takes damage. This makes Diaz amazing for pilots with quick draw abilities. Just remember, you need to take hits to get those DPS boosts going, so Diaz rewards the tankier pilots who aren't afraid of a little pain. Yevgeny and Hawkwood are the prime examples here. Last but definitely not least, Arcus is a sharpshooter's ally. This trooper buffs damage when using the same type of shoulder weapons and gives even more damage if no enemies are nearby, plus boosts hit rate for nearby allies. The catch? You have to run same type shoulder weapons for Arcus to really shine, which makes pilots like Naomi and Lucia the perfect candidates. If you like sniping from a safe distance and supporting your squad, Arcus has your back. So yeah, these A-tier support troopers bring the muscle, the utility, and a little bit of magic that can turn the tide of battle, if you build your squad around their strengths, of course. Next stop, the elite S-tier legends. The STs in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Glacier, Twilight, Bluebird, Blazer, Aurora, and Kong. Alright, now we've hit the big leagues, the S-tier support troopers of Mecharashi. These bad boys are the creme de la creme, the game changers, the wow, did you see that? Kind of troopers that can absolutely carry your team when used right. Let's kick things off with Glacier, arguably the most optimal support trooper for Frieda and Hong. If your pilot stacks dodge and critical rate, Glacier's got you covered with massive bonus damage and extra flurry strike procs. Basically, Glacier turns your dodge heavy builds into pure havoc machines, and that's why Frieda and Hong love her so much. Next up is Twilight Fang, the perfect match for Marcus and Kaiden. This support trooper shines when your pilot uses 2 weapon types, boosting re-attack chances, which is super valuable for fighters and snipers alike. If you want consistent hits and high DPS, Twilight Fang is definitely one of your best bets. It's like having a second wind every time you attack. Bluebird is the sniper's dream come true. The most optimal support trooper for Natalia and Dana, Bluebird offers a huge critical boost that grows as more enemies come into range. Couple that with the re-attack boost and you've got a recipe for some serious damage output. If you like to control the battlefield with your sharpshooters, Bluebird is the wingman you never knew you needed. Then there's Blazer, who sits comfortably as the best support trooper for every machinist in the game. Blazer doesn't just boost damage when you're healing, it also removes debuffs and buffs healing when your HP is low. Melissa and Seven absolutely crush it with Blazer on their side, especially in longer fights where survivability matters as much as raw power. Aurora is another machinist favorite, great for those who lean heavily on AoE healing. She has a neat trick that lets overhealing convert into extra HP, which can keep your squad alive just a little longer. That said, while Aurora is solid, Blazer usually edges her out when it comes to her overall value and utility in the long run. Last but certainly not least, Kong is the king of raiders. This support trooper buffs link attack damage and the number of procs, plus adds extra damage based on how much action points are available. If your raiders run heavy support troopers, Kong makes sure they hit hard and often. William and Emily, in particular, get a ton of mileage out of Kong's powerhouse kit. So yeah, if you want to build a squad that dominates, these S-tier support troopers are the ultimate key players. They bring game-winning damage, support, and survivability all rolled into one. Ready to take your Mecharashi game to the next level? These are your MVPs. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.